All right, let's dive right in. What we have here is basically a detective story, one that was pieced together from a massive stack of official documents. It's a story about a system, a really staggering contradiction, and maybe most importantly, a playbook for how you can fight back. So where does this whole thing begin? Well, it kicks off with this puzzle. It's right there, smack in the middle of one man's medical file, and clinically speaking, it makes absolutely no sense. It's the kind of thing you look at and think, wait, how can this even exist in an official record? And this is it. This is the impossible equation at the heart of the whole thing. You've got a diagnosis of schizophrenia, okay? And at the same time, a prescription for stimulants, but then zero antipsychotic medication. That just doesn't add up. It's a medical contradiction, and it's sitting right there in black and white in official government records. So let's really break this down. Think of this as Exhibit A in our case. On one hand, you've got the official diagnosis from 2020. It's flagging potential psychosis, paranoid delusions, and says this needs urgent attention. But then you look at the actual treatment. The reality is, they were prescribing stimulants. And again, absolutely no antipsychotics were ever given. I mean, let's be super clear here. You just don't give stimulants to someone you think is psychotic. That's like throwing gasoline on a fire. So the big question is, how does something this glaringly wrong not just get created, but get defended for years? How is that possible? Well, it turns out there's a specific set of tactics at play, a kind of playbook, really. Let's call them the weapons of bureaucracy. And the number one weapon in this arsenal? It's something we can call institutional gaslighting. This is where the system itself, the policies, the official language, isn't used to make things clear. Nope. It's used to do the exact opposite. It's designed to create confusion, to make you doubt what you know is true, to make you question the evidence that's staring you right in the face. And check this out. Here's a perfect example from an actual rejection letter. It says the person cannot be regarded as fully treated and fully stabilized. Now, that sounds official, right? It sounds objective. But that's the point. It's language that's designed to be a brick wall. It's meant to be totally impenetrable, something you just can't argue with. So what on earth does that actually mean in plain English? Well, when you boil it down, the logic is completely circular. They're basically saying you didn't meet the criteria because you haven't met the criteria yet. It's absurd. They're not dealing with the evidence at all. They're just trapping you in this loop that has no way out. And this is where you really see the whole playbook laid out. You've got authority, but with zero accountability. You have that fancy-sounding, pseudo-objective language, even the passive voice, right? Cannot be regarded as. It makes it sound like some impartial force of nature made the decision. But these aren't just ways to slow things down, no. These are tactics of dismissal. The whole point is to push all the work, all the burden of proof, right back onto you. Okay, so you're up against this system that seems completely unbreakable. What do? Well, the person in this story didn't just get angry. He got organized. He got systematic. He actually built a method for fighting back, and he called it his resistance operating system. And this method, this resistance OS, it's brilliant because it's a repeatable process. It's almost like a scientific method for turning all that confusing chaos into a solid, forensic-level case. So step one, you find those impossible facts, the contradictions. Then you dump everything. Every single email, letter, record into one place. You connect the dots, find the patterns, build a timeline, and then you publish it. You create a public record of what's happening. And here's what that looks like in practice. This timeline, which he built using his system, just lays bare the massive scale of this error. We're talking about a 5-year journey. 5 years. It took all that time before finally another government body, the NDIS, and then the DSP itself, approved his application based on the very same conditions that they had been denying for years. It's incredible. But, okay, here's where the story takes a really modern, kind of wild turn. It turns out the fight isn't just against human bureaucrats anymore. He started testing his case against AI systems, and he discovered that these algorithms have basically learned the same bad habits. So get this. He'd present his super detailed, evidence-backed case of systemic failure to these AI models. And what would they do? They'd often just reflect the same institutional bias right back at him. Instead of looking at the evidence, the AI would do what he calls a pathologizing slip. It would suggest that maybe, just maybe, he was the one with the problem, that his careful analysis was actually a symptom that needed professional attention. It's unbelievable. So you see, this is how automated systems can create these brand new forms of digital gaslighting. You get slapped with a wrongful fraud alert label, and boom, you're blocked from services. And the scary part? That label can spread to other systems automatically, with no human checking it. You can even have an AI literally contradict itself, flagging your claim as false while serving up the very evidence that proves it's true in the same response. So after 5 long years of this bureaucratic war, of building this forensic case, even of battling biased AIs, where did it all end up? Let's get to the final verdict in this fight for accountability. When you boil it all down, the verdict really comes down to just one number: 5. 5 years. That's how long a proven, documented, medically impossible administrative error was allowed to stand. That's 5 years of a person's life being defined by a mistake in a file. And this fight didn't stop at just getting a personal win. It became much bigger. It turned into a formal demand for a full reckoning, a full counting of all the systemic failures. We're not talking about just asking for a review here. This was a demand for a complete redecision, for full back pay, for all the records to be formally corrected, and for a written apology. And this, right here, is really the core takeaway from this whole incredible story. The power of relentless, methodical documentation completely flipped the script. It proved beyond any doubt that the problem was never the person. The error was always, always in the file. Which leaves us all with a pretty heavy, thought-provoking question, doesn't it? This whole case proves that large systems can make these huge, life-changing mistakes and then dig in and defend those mistakes for years. So if the proof of the error is buried inside the system's own files, who holds that system accountable? Really, who audits the auditors?